We'll continue, and the next topic is Langmuir adsorption isotherm. See, as we were talking about the last time, that is Freundlich adsorption isotherm. The difference between the Freundlich and Langmuir is that Freundlich was more on the basis of experiment. There was no theoretical base, whereas Langmuir goes on theoretical fundas. He has come out with a certain assumption and said, okay, let us assume this, if this is taking place, then we are going for this. And Langmuir, as I was talking to you, Freundlich adsorption isotherm is empirical. There was no theoretical base, but Langmuir derived new isotherm on the basis of kinetic theory of gas, which is called Langmuir adsorption isotherm. It is assumed that, first thing what he has assumed, suppose ये हमारा adsorbent है और यहाँ पे गैसेस एड्सॉर्ब होने वाला है, लेकिन एड्सॉर्ब होने के लिए यहाँ पे जो एक्टिव साइट्स है, लैंगमिर ने सबसे पहले इनके बारे में assumption लिया. He said that during his derivation he has considered this. He said all these active sites, they are identical. They are identical to each other. एक दूसरे जैसे ही है, अलग अलग नहीं है, सेम है. पहली चीज. Second thing he has assumed कि suppose if one site is occupied or not occupied, does not affect neighboring site. Each site is independent. Whether the neighboring site is occupied or unoccupied does not make any difference about the activity of the neighboring site. These are the two assumptions he started with. He said that all adsorption sites are equal and independent from its neighboring sites. He has considered two different processes. He has considered. First process, as I was talking to you, अगर गैस का यहाँ पे adsorption होता है, we call it adsorption. He called it adsorption also, but at the same time, let us call it condensation. When the adsorption is taking place, let us call it condensation. And second phenomena, he said, जो मैं बताया था यहाँ पे desorption हो रहा है, we call it desorption, but at the same time he called it evaporation. What did he call it? Evaporation. He said there are two phenomena are taking place simultaneously. The gaseous adsorbate is getting adsorbed on the surface of solid substance. He called it condensation. The desorption of the adsorbed gas molecule from the surface of solid substance, he called it evaporation. And he said, let there be a dynamic equilibrium between these two processes. At that time, Langmuir assumed that there is a dynamic equilibrium established between the above two said processes. In addition, he also assumed that the thickness of the adsorbed gas is one molecule, monomolecular layer is formed. Normally we see this type of thickness in chemical adsorption. After that, all this consideration, he derived one formula, which the derivation of that formula is out of our syllabus, but definitely the final conclusion is there. Final conclusion is given to us: X by M equals AP upon 1 plus BP. X by M equals to what? AP upon 1 plus BP, where X is the same term which we have just now learned in Freundlich adsorption isotherm. And जैसे मैंने पहले भी बताया, आप में से कोई इतना इंटेलिजेंट मत बनना कि एग्जाम में लिख के आए as it was written in Freundlich. एग्जाम में लिख के जरूर आना क्या होता है, m क्या होता है. You need to explain that. Correct or not? टेक्स्ट बुक में लिखा है कि x by m is adsorption of per gram adsorbent as explained in Freundlich, but you don't write that. You have to explain that. Whereas P talks about the pressure of the gas, and A and B, he said these two are constant. A and B are constant. And the thing which he has done, he उसके जो constant थे वो काफी अच्छे थे compared to the constant of Freundlich. किस तरीके से अच्छे थे? He could explain those situations which Freundlich could not explain. He has taken two cases. देखो, lower pressure पे हम जब ग्राफ प्लॉट करते तो ऐसा था, लो प्रेशर पे ऐसे डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल था, एंड हाई प्रेशर पे क्या हो रहा था, फ्लैट बन रहा था, कांस्टेंट हो रहा था. He had explained both the concepts. He said at low pressure पे this constant B is such like that the value of BP, B into pressure P, will be so it will be much less than 1. It will be much less than 1. So 1 plus BP will be always equals to 1 because BP की वैल्यू बहुत ही कम होगी 1 से. It becomes 1. So जो हमारा ये फॉर्मूला था, या तो x by m equals to 1 AP upon 1 plus BP था, उसको हम लिख सकते हैं AP upon 1 only because 1 plus BP क्या बन जाएगा 1. That means x by m equals to AP. X by m equals to AP, that means x by m is directly proportional to P. That means at lower pressure it is directly proportional. That's what he has explained over here. He has written, textbook is writing that. I'm not reading because I had explained already. Second case, what they are explaining, at high pressure the value of constant B is such like that the माफ करना, मैं बोल बहुत ही अच्छा रहा था, समझा भी बिल्कुल सही रहा था, मैथमेटिकली मैंने यहाँ पे ये साइन गलत लगा दी है. वैल्यू ऑफ B is much less than 1. When I was explaining, okay, the concept was clear in my mind, खाली लिखा गलत है, होता है कई बार. आई पेन एंड दिमाग का कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं रहा, ओके, लेकिन अभी है. ओके, वैल्यू ऑफ बीपी इज much less than 1 when the temperature is low. That means 1 plus BP equals to 1. बराबर है कि नहीं. सेकेंड केस में वैल्यू ऑफ बीपी इज much higher than 1. Value of BP is much higher than 1. At that time 1 plus BP becomes BP because 1 is बहुत छोटा compared to BP. बराबर है कि नहीं? Are you following me? So 1 plus BP becomes BP. And at that time जो हमारे पास ये फॉर्मूला है x by m equals to AP upon 1 plus BP, that will become x by m equals to AP upon BP because 1 plus BP equals to क्या बन जाएगा BP, and PP gets cancelled. X by m equals to, which is a constant at higher pressure. So higher pressure पे you will get like this. He could explain this thing to us, correct or not? Now till here, why don't you read? Thank God for the people like you. Okay, we'll continue over here. See over here the point. After getting x by m equals to ये formula में we need to find out the values of this constant a and b. So for that what will we do? We will invert this equation. Then we get m by x equals to 1 plus bp upon ap. And अगर मिला m by x equal to 1 plus bp upon ap, let's divide individually 1 and bp को by ap. So 1 upon ap plus bp by ap. P gets cancelled. Then becomes 1 upon ap plus b by a. Or I may write like this: m by x equals to 1 upon a into 1 by p plus b by a. Correct or not? We get this. And अगर हम इसको कंपेयर करते हैं y इक्वल्स टू mx प्लस c के साथ, तो जो आपका ग्राफ मिलेगा वो इस तरीके से मिलेगा. मैं इतने पार्ट को ये था हमारे पास ये फॉर्मूला m by x equals to 1 upon a 1 upon 1 plus 1 upon a into 1 by p plus b by a. If I plot a graph taking on vertical axis m by x, horizontal axis 1 by p, then it will be a straight line where m equals to 1 by a, that means this slope will be equals to 1 by a and the intercept will be equals to b by a. Correct or not? By using this graph, you can find out the values of A and B. Plot a graph of m by x versus 1 by p. You can find out those values. Correct or not? ये जो ग्राफ मैंने आपको बताया, वो ग्राफ आपको ये जो खाली जगह बची हुई है यहां पे ड्रॉ करना है. करेक्ट और नॉट? एंड देन रीड द होल पैराग्राफ. जो बाकी है टेक्स्ट बुक में वो पढ़ाई करना है आपको.